So I just want to talk to you about being an entrepreneur, because I have a lot of people that tell me, well, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to create my dream life, or I want to have my own business, follow my passions, but it's just too hard. It's too complicated. I don't know if I can do it. I've tried. It just doesn't work out. It's just too complicated. So I want to let you know what's really hard though. What's really hard is waking up on Monday morning, having to go to a job that you don't like, or doing things that you really hate or are not passionate about it. In fact, in the United States, a majority of people say that they hate their jobs, that they do something that they really dislike. So it's hard doing that. It's hard looking forward to Wednesday because it's hump day. That means that part of your week's almost over. Or it's hard to say Friday's up and then I only have the weekend. I can do what I want and then I have to worry about, oh, Monday's around the corner again. Now that's hard. Living a life that's not passion driven, living a life that's not purpose driven, that's hard. But what happens is that we get comfortable. We might get comfortable with our paycheck. We might get comfortable living paycheck to paycheck, not knowing what if we left the job, what if that didn't work out. But realistically, it's not that we're so much comfortable, it's that we fear change. And realistically, we can create whatever reality we want. But the problem is that we overcomplicate it, because it doesn't have to be that complicated to be an entrepreneur. And it doesn't have to be that complicated to follow your dreams. Think about it from this perspective. You had to learn first when you were a baby how to crawl and then how to walk. When you went to school, you started with some basic stuff, learning how to write letters and the alphabet and stuff like that. And you got more and more complicated as you went along, right? So eventually you were able to compose maybe some written stuff. You were able to do some big projects. You were able to do other things that maybe you wouldn't have been able to do before. Why? Because life is about growth. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, for example, you have to take those same baby steps. You first have to learn how to crawl, have to learn how to walk. It is a process. But what if you dedicated the next 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years into creating your passion, your business, following your purpose? What is that going to look like long term? Because what if I told you that if you dedicated the next 2 years of your life following your passion, learning, implementing it to really create a thriving business, and then after that, you wouldn't even have to worry about going to an 8 to 5 or 9 to 6 or whatever it is, or a job that you really dislike, or doing something that you're really not passionate about. What if you just had to learn? Call it your own college, your own university process of getting your degree and into creating your passion and following your purpose. What if you could do that? It doesn't even have to take 2 years. In fact, it could take a month. It could take a couple of weeks. I'll give you a perfect example. I was in a job that I wasn't passionate about, and I was like, oh, I really don't like this. I want to do something else. And I did a little brainstorming with our family. We put some cardboards up and what are some of the skills that we have now, some of the passions that we might be able to monetize and do something with them. So we came up with photography for me, because I always had a passion for photography. And we ended up opening a photography company. And in less than 2 weeks, we actually got our first contract, because I was focused on it. I was actually doing research on Google. I was looking at how to create contracts and things like that. And then all of a sudden, I heard a conversation of somebody saying that their photographer called out and they were supposed to be doing their daycare centers. And I walked up to them and said, hey, I have a photography business. I would love to be able to do that. And they were like, okay, show us some of your work and we can work together. So I was like, what do I do now? I got to learn, right? But I was knowing that I was willing and capable of putting the work in. And that's what you have to be willing and capable to do. First, you have to have the foundation to be able to take an opportunity like that and do it. And two, you have to just be committed to taking that next step. So I went into YouTube, I started watching videos, I messed with lighting, so I started doing some research on it. I bought some lighting kit, and I had a few day turnaround time, practiced with my daughter, family members and things like that. Bought some props at Walmart and put it together and showed them some pictures, and they're like, looks good, can you start next week? Yeah, sure. I had a job, took a couple of days off, and then after that, I actually made more in 1 week of doing that photography gig than I would make in over a month working. And I put my resignation. I deep dive, took that into opening up a center, coaching center in Orlando. So it was really more about taking the next step. And I've always had something on the side that I was working on, always learning. So what can you do to start your learning process? What can you do to really help you develop yourself as an entrepreneur to be able to follow your passion? For example, I'm constantly listening to audiobooks, constantly reading articles about different aspects of what I want to do. I'm constantly watching YouTube videos, watching playlists on things like that to empower myself every day. I dedicate at least an hour where I'm learning something. In fact, I used to work as an investigator for the state of Florida at one point, and I used to spend a lot of time on the road. So to me, it was my learning time. Sometimes I would spend 4 hours on the road, and I was constantly listening to audiobooks. And I remember listening to one that said, think of a way that you can make an extra $200 a month. And to me at that time was a lot of money. But I started thinking, I found that I could buy sandals in surplus off of Macy's, buying for pennies, really. And then I started reselling those. And then I realized that I was making $10 off each sandal I sold, but I could have other people sell it, make a smaller share, but still make a profit off of it and do less work. So it's all been a learning journey. It's all been a learning process to really understand how you can actually create. You are a creator. And again, there's fear, there's doubt that comes about, but it's all about taking the next step. For example, when we started in this, we started a coaching business, and where we're doing teleseminars and doing other stuff. And it eventually turned out into doing workshops, conferences, into having a magazine, a physical magazine, to then having a digital magazine, to then having a book publishing company, to then having an academy where now we have over 50,000 students from 184 countries. And I don't tell you that to brag. I tell you that because it all started just by taking the small steps of knowing what we wanted to do and kind of just trusting and learning as we go along. And as we went along, what we wanted evolve, what we wanted change. And through that change, we're able to create something that if we look back, even a few years ago, we would have never thought that it was possible to be doing what we're doing now. So it's just about your commitment to really developing a growth mindset. And what that means is knowing that you can grow, you can develop any talent or any skills that you can think of. Because that's how our brain works. Actually, when you start learning things, when you start learning a new skill, your brain actually literally grows. It becomes heavier. It's been scientifically proven. You see, you have all these neural connections in your brain, all these cells. And when you learn something, it actually grows. The dendrites actually expand to create new connections. So anything that you want to develop in your life, it's just about the commitment to taking that step, to actually learning that process, to getting it done. And all it has to do is you starting right now. So ask yourself, what is really what you want to create? And you might not have a great idea, solid idea, but what kind of lifestyle do you want to create? What kind of business? What things are you passionate about? And start looking for people that are doing that right now. Because if somebody's doing it, it means that you can do it. For example, I'm not more special than anyone else because I've created these businesses. I'm not smarter than anyone else. In fact, I don't think that I'm as equipped as other people. But the only difference between me and other people is that I'm willing to take the time to learn. So you can take that time to learn whatever it is that you want. So again, ask yourself, what can I do today? What can I start learning? Just to get a general idea, who can I start following? Maybe on YouTube. What audio books or physical books can I get that'll help me get more clarity? Because the more I've learned, the more clarity I've gotten to what I don't want, which then helps me realize what I do want. And this about a journey, it's about a process. But if you start today and you're committed to it, think about if in 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, you can have the freedom that you want and you can be doing what you love and following your passion. Just if you make that small commitment. You might say, I don't have the time, but how much time do you spend maybe on Facebook? How much time do you spend maybe watching movies and doing other things that are not really fulfilling to your life? What if instead of going and checking your Facebook or Twitter, you were using that time to maybe watch a YouTube video, maybe search for an article, maybe do something that's going to help you grow? Because studies show that most people spend over 3 hours a day on social media and watching TV and stuff like that. So what if you spend that time feeding your brain, feeding what you want to create? So I challenge you today to start that process. And I look forward to serving you in the future. If you want information and content that's going to help you, like our channel, follow us, and we'll be more than happy to answer questions if you have any. Put them in the comment. But really, it's about you stepping into your own, because as you follow your purpose, follow your passions, you also empower other people to do the same. Thank you.